Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name's Julie Mann. I am a professional network marketer, an actor, and I'm also an EFT practitioner. And I'm really delighted because today I'm joined by business coach Coralee Beatty. Hi, Coralee.
Hi, Julie.
Great to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's been a while.
So I know that let's start really with university. I know that you studied psychology, didn't you? And you also minored in criminology. So tell us about that time in your life and why you decided in the end to take a completely different path.
So yeah, out of university, or out of high school, I always thought that I would be helping people. I always thought that that's what I wanted to do. So I graduated in '92 from high school, and so coaching wasn't a thing yet. Psychology was the route to go. So I went and I took criminology and psychology, and I found about my third year in. So originally my major was criminology, and I minored in psych. And then when I switched to university, I switched and my major was psychology. And about 3 years into my program, I recognized that I couldn't identify with the people that I was trying to help. Like their life was so different than mine. And I just didn't think that I could genuinely help them. So that's when I thought I need to do something different. And I've always been interested in construction. That was kind of, I was like designing houses. So that's like, hey, there's no emotional connection there. Let's go deal with buildings. So I made that left-hand turn and did something completely different for the next, 20 years.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that actually, because I think for about 15 years, you and your husband owned a mechanical contracting business.
Yeah, so I went to, I majored in, it's called building envelope consulting is what I did. And I did that for a few years with an engineering firm. And in that time I met my husband, and then we started a business together because he's a plumber by trade. So we started a mechanical contracting. We did plumbing, heating, HVAC, and we did that for 15 years. And, during that time, I was the one, he was sort of the technical expert, but I was the business person. I was the one who was building the business. I was the one that was running all the processes and procedures and having everything run smoothly. That was my job. So, we did that for about 15 years, but then it was running our life. We really had a challenge in getting employees. The area that we worked from is really, expensive and treats people, no matter how much we paid them, they could not afford to live in this area, and commuting to this area was very difficult. So we had a challenge in finding employees. So my husband ended up working too much, and we ended up deciding to sell the business. So we went through the process of selling, and we were very lucky that it was a successful sale. We, often went through sale of a business, you have to be committed to the business for another 2 years through that transition period. But the people we found that to buy our business, they just took over everything. And we were like, in 6 weeks, we were out. It was amazing. It was just like this huge stress gone. And it was great.
Wow. So even though you and your husband obviously in the business had very different roles, working with a significant other, I mean, that could be challenging, can't it? Did you ever find that you brought business home?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, it was our life. That's all we did. It was very difficult to get away from. Um, but we work really well together. We're a really great team. We built things. We built a house together, and it went really smooth, relatively speaking, considering when we built it. It was right, in 2008 when everything crashed. But notwithstanding the challenges of the economy at the time, we successfully built a house together, and our business went well together. So we're a really good team. We work well together, but there was no getting away from it for sure. Like, we were always thinking about it. What are we going to do next? And what are your ideas here? And it was always with us.
And you had children as well at that point, didn't you?
Yeah, four of them.
Yeah. And they're all homeschooled, which is amazing.
Yes, and I homeschooled them as well. So I started homeschooling when my youngest was in kindergarten. He was really young for his age. Like, he's a December baby, and so he would have been really young going to school. I liked the idea of homeschooling forever. I always have, even before kids. So when he came along, and he was a personality type that he was really ready to learn, but he really wasn't ready for that social environment at such a young age. So I thought, well, let's just homeschool. So I started right from the beginning. And I think it just becomes part of your life. So, by the time we were in business for a few years before he came along, and it just became part of our life. You just kind of do what it is that you want to do, and you make it work.
So you were juggling all those things, but then you also decided to complete your degree, didn't you?
I did decide to go back and complete my degree, but that was after we sold the business. So it was when I decided, when I had that revelation where it was business coaching that I wanted to do. That's when I decided I would go back and finish my degree, because it was more relevant. Like when I was in the construction industry, it wasn't really that relevant, although I was dealing with employees and it could be relevant. But there was no need for it at that time. And because I was so full in my schedule with everything else I was doing, it wasn't really a priority. But then when I decided to do business coaching, and I thought, well, that would, support what I was doing, I thought, I could take the opportunity to do that.
How do you manage to juggle all those things, Coralee?
I think it's a matter of prioritizing, because, I'm not somebody who sits and watches TV. I can't even sit and watch a movie because I feel fidgety, like I need to be doing something different. I feel like I really have to program my brain to, okay, I can sit down and just let myself watch a movie. And I've never really sat in front of a TV for a lot of hours. It's not something that I do. So I think that I save a lot of time there. I structure my day quite cleanly. Like there's certain times where I'm homeschooling the kids, there's certain times when I'm doing business calls, or certain times that I'm studying. Like everything's broken into, blocks of time when I'm doing what. So I always know what I'm supposed to be doing, and it helps to manage the time.
Brilliant. And obviously, I mean, you have a gift for being organized, don't you? Not everybody is a great skill in business, but also in life. But you talked about starting a coaching business, but what was it that gave you that light bulb moment to begin?
It was a lot of years of struggle. A lot of years. It was 2.5 years of struggling. Like after we sold our business, I knew that I wasn't going into business with my husband again, because our marriage did very happily survive one. I can't say it would have survived two. We are very different. We operate very different. So I knew that whatever was going to be next for me was going to be my thing. And because so many years was with my husband's business, like, running the mechanical business, I didn't know. I really didn't know. And I struggled for 2 years. I finally hired a coach of my own, a life coach. And even before, it's funny because before I was supposed to go to Spain actually, and have a retreat there and sort of have this, big discovery life thing. And even before I had to do that, it like this light bulb went on, and it's just like, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to coach. Like, I'm not dealing with people's past. I'm not dealing with their trauma, their history. I don't have to deal with that. I'm dealing with their current situation and where they want to be. We're moving forward. And that is where it's like, oh, that's where I want to help people. It was like all that stuff that I wanted to do from a very young age finally came back to me. And it really was like 4:30 in the morning. I was laying just in bed, because I'm an early riser. So I was getting ready to get up for my day, and it was just like this light bulb that went on. I was just like, oh, that's it. But it was, after 2.5 years of struggling, a lot of dark places of, not knowing what am I going to do, where am I going to go, and, trying to connect with myself, because when you get to that point, you feel so disconnected from yourself. And it was wonderful. And then when I realized that, because originally I thought I would do life coaching because I wanted to help people that were in the same position I was, where, life gets taken over by being a mom and being a wife and being a business owner and being all these things that, who am I? Like, that's where I originally wanted to help women. But then as I was starting on that path, what I recognized is that I kind of missed the business element of it, because I loved the business element of what we did. So when I realized that I can take the parts of, the mindset and the goal setting and the vision and the reigniting that inner fire of what I considered life coaching, when I took that and married it with, business owners and them doing it in their business, I was like, that is where I want to be, just helping those business owners, because I was there. Now I can genuinely help these people because I was there. That thing that turned me away from psychology and criminology 25 plus years earlier, I was like, oh, these are the people I can identify with. These are the people I can help. And these are the people I can make their lives easier. So it was like this synchronicity that came, everything that came together. And since then, it's just, I've been working to get certified and finish my degree and do all these things. It just kind of brings it all together.
It must have been such a relief just even making that decision.
You know, it's that moment where you feel like you're finally connected to yourself, because I felt so disconnected. I felt so far off of knowing who I was. But it was just that moment where I was being true to myself. I recognized what it is that was genuine to me, how I could help people. And it was like this path cleared. It's like, you know, I couldn't see the forest through the trees before, but all of a sudden it was just all opened up. And it was just like, this is where I'm going. And it's been great.
Wow. How would someone know, Coralee, if working with a coach would be a smart thing for them to do?
You know, it's funny because I am a coach, so it kind of comes, you know, maybe it sounds biased, but what I've recognized, even before I decided that that's what I wanted to do, when I decided to hire my own coach, because when we had our business and we were being run by our business, we hired a business coach. And that helped us get things organized. And at that time I thought, you know, this is really great. This is amazing for us. And then when I realized after 2 years of struggling with finding out what I was going to do, I'm like, hey, maybe I should hire a coach. I recognized that everybody can use a coach, regardless of whether it be in your business, your life, you know, whatever it is, just to have the space held for you to explore yourself. So whether it's yourself related to your business, yourself related to your life, yourself related to a healing process, trauma that you may have gone through, you know, so many different aspects, and there's so many different coaches. I truly feel like where we are today, where life is so busy and so full, our schedules are so full, to make that time for yourself with a coach who can support you in where you are and keeps you focused, keeps you accountable on where you are to where you want to be, where are you headed? Because otherwise, you know, one day turns into a week, turns into a month, and there you go, 3 years later, you're like, what just happened? You know, but having somebody who is working with you specifically to help you stay focused and accountable, I think is invaluable for everybody. Just, you know,
Yeah.
and like I said, because I'm a coach, it kind of seems like, oh, that could be biased, but it's something that I've recognized, even like I said, even before I became a coach. It's, and that's one of the reasons why it's just like everybody can use it. Somebody just needs that space held for them where they can explore themselves and get to know themselves. And it's such an empowering experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And coaches have coaches, don't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I have my coach. I certainly do. I'm meeting with her after this.
Fabulous. Okay,
yes.
So obviously you've mentioned that you've got that business background, and
Mhm.
obviously you're working with people around their business. So apart from that, what would you say is unique about you and the way you work with your clients?
I think because I also don't just work, I almost see myself as this dichotomy, because I work on the blueprint of the business. I really help them get their systems in place. You know, the goal is to have their systems in place so that they can work less and have their business run without them. Like, that's my goal. So we work on business blueprint. But the other part of me is this magical part that, you know, I focus on, you know, unlimited possibilities, the mindset, you know, goal setting, creating those visions. Like I really take those two, you know, sort of ends of the spectrum, and I bring them together to, you know, help my clients recognize that anything is possible. It really, truly is, as long as you believe it. And I help them believe it, and I help them create the vision for it, so that whatever that component is, you know, then we can apply that to any component in their business. So, you know, if they're picturing what their system will look like, if they can, you know, visualize what their system will look like, that'll help us create it. You know, whatever it happens, whatever process or whatever procedure, whatever position they need to define, whatever it is, we can create it with a vision. And then we can create it in, you know, and this is the tools that you need, and this is the checklist, and this is the form that needs getting filled out, whatever it happens to be. So I kind of bring those two things together.
Brilliant. And I love that you said that you help them believe, because I guess that's the thing, isn't it? At the beginning, people are floundering about and they're not quite sure what to do. And sometimes they believe, and other times they're like, can I really do this?
And that I think is, where that coach comes in, is to constantly be there to remind them that you absolutely can, and you will. You will, with that coach by your side that will remind you and hold you accountable and keep you focused. You absolutely can achieve anything.
Brilliant. So if someone is watching, Coralee, and they're just starting out in business, what advice would you give them?
Don't try to do it alone. Just don't try to do it alone. It doesn't even have to be a coach. Like, this is not me selling a coach. Like, absolutely, I think that that's great, but some people can't afford it, and that's life. But, whether it be joining network groups or just surround yourself with people who have done it before. You learn so much from that experience. You can just listen to people, talk to people, and just don't try to do it alone. It's so frustrating, can be really discouraging. And I mean, besides that, like, you can learn so much just through going through that process, but also, I think don't just roll into it. If you have the foresight to organize your business ahead of time, life will be so much easier.
Yeah, brilliant. I know that you absolutely love being in nature, don't you?
Mm.
How important do you think it is for us to have a connection with nature?
In my journey of, finally being able to take time for myself and recognize what's important, I've really recognized this, the universal energy and the power that is in it. And any living thing is connected through that energy. And it's so funny because the first time I was out in the forest with this new realization or recognition of that power, I just went up to a tree and I put my hand on it and I closed my eyes, because somebody had told me this before, like, go try and do this. And I thought, well, that sounds a little weird. Okay, so we were there, like, in the forest at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we're not running into people. So, I'm like, okay, well, let's just give this a try. So my husband was open to the idea. And so I just went up to a tree. I closed my eyes and I put my hand on a tree. And I was like, oh, my word. It was like I felt this vibration all the way down my arm into my heart. And I was like, I was a little freaked out by it, really. Like, but at the same time, when I gave myself to process, what it is, it's that power of life. It's that energy of life. And it was such it's an empowering experience, because all of a sudden you feel connected to everything, and you're not just you anymore. And every time I touch a tree, I don't necessarily feel that same power. Sometimes I'll go touch a tree and I won't feel anything that day. And I'll be like, oh, okay. But the first time I did it, I felt it. And I certainly have since then. But to me, it was just like this recognition of the connection with everything. And to be able to experience that, to be connected to that. And maybe it's not going and putting your hand on a tree. Maybe it's not that, but it's just being in that space, in the air, and the quiet, but also the life that's there, like, the wildlife, the little chipmunks or whatever happens to be running around. It's just and the birds. It's, yeah, I love that. I love that
Wonderful.
connection.
We don't get many chipmunks over here in the UK, but
well, we actually have a lot of squirrels. I like chipmunks better.
Squirrels, we do. Yeah.
Squirrels are like rats with puffy tails, it's just like they're still a little rat.
So you mentioned energy, and what I know for myself is that my energy makes all the difference. So the energy I bring to my business, the energy I bring to everything I do. So have you got anything to say about that, Coralee?
When I think back about my dark days, it was the energy that I was lacking. It was the connection to the energy. It was finding the energy. It was really, and so when I started meditating, because I had meditated before, but in those years where I was trying to figure everything out, I also abandoned my meditation practice. Like, it was just a really difficult time. But when I got back to meditating and connecting with my own energy, because I find that silence is that place where I bring my energy. And so when I feel like I'm low on energy, or my vibe is low or something, I give myself those minutes to connect with my energy again, and it just brings it up. And it gives me the motivation I need to start the ball rolling with my energy, with my goals, with my direction. So even on any day where I feel like, oh, today's kind of a low energy day, if it needs to be a higher energy day because I have things planned that I need to get done, then I kind of go to that spot in meditation. I create my visualizations and connect with my energy there and bring it up, because I think it's definitely, it makes the days easier. It, being connected to your energy and, having that higher energy, definitely makes the days easier and so much more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And for some people, it won't be meditating, it'll be listening to music that really inspires them and lifts them up, maybe having a dance or whatever.
Yes.
But we're attracted to people with great energy, aren't we? We don't want to be around people, we're much more attracted to those kind of people than we are to people who have a lack of energy. We don't want to stay around them maybe for as long.
Well, it's so true. It is so true, because that's what, when I did have my other business, my husband was really the one who did the marketing and the networking and getting to know people. So when I started my business coaching, or on that path, this is the first time that I've really done networking and connecting for myself. I've always been connected to men. Like even when I was in high school, all my friends were males. I had some female friends, but I just didn't connect to them the same way. So here I am, a lot of years later, and I'm at a point in my life where I'm finally connecting with like-minded females. And it's been so amazing because, the energy is high amongst entrepreneurial women that are out there doing it. Like, it's such an amazing place to be and to surround yourself with. And definitely it lifts you up, it keeps you going. But for a lot of years, I didn't have that energy around me. And maybe that was part of the challenge that I had, I don't know, but I definitely recognize the difference now where I am.
Do you work with men too?
Entrepreneurial women is my niche. Like that is, because that was me. I will work with men for sure. If they want to, I don't exclude them. I do have somebody I'm working with that is male, but mostly females. I think that's who I am. That's who I connect with. That's who I am networking with. So yeah, that's really where I put my energy.
And I'm going to put your links below this video for anyone that wants to check you out. But
okay,
before we finish up, any dreams left to fulfill?
Oh, so many. Since I've always had this big dream. I love the construction industry. I love building houses. I feel so privileged and honored to have been able to build my own house. We sold that house a few years ago, but, and we plan to do it again, to build another house. But that experience is one that not a lot of people get to do. And my big goal, my BHAG, as I call it, my big, hairy, audacious goal, is really to help single moms build homes. So they have the privilege and the honor of owning something that is for them. And it's safe, it's secure, it's stable. And that's really where I'm headed with, the big picture. And that's kind of where I want to head. But in the meantime, there's so many things that I want to achieve. But to me, that's what's driving me every day, is to help single moms that just can't even imagine having that. It's not even a dream that they can think that they can dream. And I want to help realize that for them, because it's such a privilege that I think so many people don't get. Wow,
love that. Of all the things you've done in your life, Coralee, what are you most proud of?
That's a really interesting question. I'm pretty proud of the people I've raised, being a mom. I've put in a lot of work in raising my kids. Being a mom is a very difficult thing, and I know that I've put in the time, I've put in the effort, I've put in the work, and the people that I've raised are pretty amazing. And I don't say that just from a mom perspective. Like, homeschooling my kids is easy because I put the work in early. They are motivated. They're self-starters. They're relatively independent. I'm here to help them through their learning, but I really put their learning on them. They take responsibility. They know that their education is for them. It's not, in 10 years' time when they're out of my house, what did they do with their education? To me, it's just like, meh, maybe in 10 years, they won't be out of my house if they don't have an education, but maybe it is on me. But, they work hard. They are hardworking kids, and the values that we've instilled in them of hard work, responsibility, pretty proud of that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say before we close?
No, I just really appreciate the time with you, and having gotten to know you in the last couple meetings that we've had. It's been really a privilege and an honor to get to know you. I really respect and enjoy what you do.
Well, thank you very much for sharing yourself today. Coralee Beatty, thank you.
Thank you.